Chapter 3. A Good Leader. The next morning in Mr. Flores's class, everyone was kept busy discussing how he or she was going to spend $1 million. Just before lunchtime, Cricket raised her hand. "Can't we vote for a class president today?" she asked. She was probably going to nag the teacher about it every day, thought Julio. "What's the rush?" asked Mr. Flores. "This is only the second day of school. We have a whole year ahead of us." "Don't remind me," Julio groaned under his breath, but loudly enough for Lucas and others nearby to hear. "You said we should wait to know each other better," Cricket pointed out. "But we already know each other." "Yeah," several of the fifth graders chorused. "It's true, you know about each other better than I know you," said Mr. Flores. "But since you've never voted for a class president before, you may not have thought about what qualities a president should have." "It's got to be somebody that everyone likes," said Arthur. "True," Mr. Flores said. "However, is an election just a popularity contest? Does the most popular person make the best president?" "It's the most popular person who always wins an election," said Zoe. "Yes, nevertheless, a person should be popular for the right reasons," said Mr. Flores. "What other qualities should a good president have?" No one answered. Even Cricket, who always had the right answers to even the hardest questions, didn't know what to say. "What about leadership ability?" asked Mr. Flores. "But the teacher is the leader," said Cricket. "Of course," said Mr. Flores, "but the student you elect must have the potential to be a leader, even though the teacher is still in charge." "Sometimes teachers are absent," Lucas pointed out. "Yeah, but then we get a substitute," said Julio. Just then the bell rang for lunch. "We'll have an election on the second Friday in September," said Mr. Flores. "I want you to think hard about the best candidate for the job. Look for a good leader, someone who is fair, and who stands up for what he or she thinks is right. Think about someone who is concerned about the whole class and not just a few special friends." Julio looked at Cricket. She was very smart, and she spoke out a lot in class. Probably she would make an okay president. But he didn't think that she thought about anyone except herself, and a few of the girls who were her friends. Mr. Flores was right, Julio thought, as the class headed down to the lunchroom. He wondered if he himself had what it took to be a good leader. Lunch that day was another of Julio's favorite, hot diggity dog, a fancy name for a hot dog on a bun, with potato puffs, coleslaw, and oatmeal raisin cookies. Cricket looked around the table. "If you vote for me," she told everyone, "you know you'll get a smart president." "Zoe is smart too," said Sarah Jane. "I don't want to be president," said Zoe. "I'm voting for Cricket." "Lucas is going to run for president," Julio announced. "You are?" Cricket asked him. "I might," said Lucas. "I'm going to be his campaign manager," Julio said. "Then he'll never win," said Cricket. "Aren't you finished yet?" Lucas asked Julio. "Let's go out and play soccer. We're not having the election yet." Julio licked the mustard off his fingers and gathered up his lunch tray. "I'm coming," he said. Soccer was a lot more important than the election. Outside, the boys quickly formed teams. Some days the girls played soccer too, or sometimes they jumped rope together. Julio was the best player, and he was chosen captain of one team. Everyone wanted to be on Julio's team. At recess, Julio was a leader, but not in the classroom. Arthur Lewis stood watching. He didn't move very quickly, and he had never scored a goal in his life. He was surprised and grateful when Julio picked him for his team. Julio kicked the ball and immediately scored a goal. "Yeah, Julio," Zoe Mitchell called out from the sidelines. Julio heard a noise behind him. He turned and saw that Arthur Lewis had fallen down. The other kids kept on playing, running around Arthur as he slowly got up. "Where are my glasses?" asked Arthur. Julio saw Arthur's glasses on the ground. Just then the soccer ball landed on top of them, breaking the frame right in half. One of the lenses was cracked, too. The soccer game stopped, and everyone gathered around Arthur to see what had happened. "They're not looking too good," said Julio, picking up the glasses and handing them to the owner. "My new glasses! They cost a lot of money, and they're supposed to be unbreakable." Arthur's eyes filled with tears. "My mother is going to have a fit." cry baby, someone called out. He's not crying, said Julio. His eyes are tearing because he's straining to see without his glasses. Julio put his arm around Arthur's shoulders. Don't worry, he said. We'll all chip in and help you pay for them. Hey, no way, said one of the boys. Just because he falls over his own feet doesn't mean we have to pay for his glasses. Who kicked the ball that landed on the glasses? Asked another boy. That doesn't matter, said Julio. We were all playing, so we should all chip in. It's only fair. But it's an awful lot of money, said Arthur. I don't think you'll be able to pay for them. Don't worry, said Julio. We'll figure out a way. He stuck his hands into his pockets. He had a quarter and 2 pennies. He handed them to Arthur. This is just for a start. Who else has some money? I spent my allowance already, said Sarah Jane Cushman. Besides, the girls weren't even playing soccer today. That's not the point, said Julio. Arthur's in our class, and I think we should all help him out. Lucas handed over a dime and 2 quarters. Even without his glasses on, Arthur could figure out that he had only 87 cents. It wasn't even enough for the tiny screws on the frames. The teacher who was supervising recess came over to see what was wrong. Is anyone hurt? She asked. Just his glasses, said Julio as the bell rang for the students to return to the building. Julio kept his arm around Arthur's shoulders as they went inside. It's okay, he said. We'll get the money. Tell your mother not to worry. It will just take a little more time. I hope it doesn't take too long. I can hardly see anything without my glasses, complained Arthur. I'll be your seeing eye boy, Julio said, and he guided Arthur right to a seat. Arthur broke his glasses, Cricket announced when they were all seated. Kevin Shea did it, said Sarah Jane. He kicked the soccer ball that landed on Arthur's glasses. Everyone spoke at once, trying to explain the accident. Finally, Mr. Flores had the whole picture. We should all chip in and help pay for the new glasses, said Julio. We could earn the money. Mr. Flores looked at Julio. That's a great idea, he said. Any suggestions on how we could do it? We could put on a play and charge admission, said Lucas. A project like that would take a long time, said Mr. Flores. If we're going to pay for Arthur's glasses, we have to do something quickly. I know, said Cricket. We could have a bake sale. My mother taught me how to make chocolate chip cookies. If everyone baked one thing, we could have a big sale. We could do it tomorrow. I can make cupcakes, said Sarah Jane. My mother makes great peanut butter cookies, said Lucas. I'd bet she'd help me make some for the sale. Soon everyone had suggestions for what they could bake. Julio had never baked anything in his life, and he knew his mother would be too tired to start making cakes or cookies when she got home from work. What about you, Julio? Asked Cricket. She was making a list of what everyone could bring. We already have cupcakes and 2 kinds of cookies. We can't have too many people making the same things. Julio thought fast. Brownies, he said, with lots of nuts. Good, said Cricket, and she wrote that down on her list. Tomorrow seems too soon, said Mr. Flores, as the students went on with their planning. Let's have the sale on Friday. We'll put up signs around the school so everyone will know about it, and then they'll bring a little extra money. Arthur Lewis spent the rest of the afternoon in a haze. He couldn't concentrate because he was worrying about what his mother would say when she saw the glasses. Julio Sanchez spent the rest of the afternoon in a daze. Somehow, he had to figure out how to make brownies between now and Friday. Brownies with lots of nuts. He must have been nuts himself.